our meeting to order. We thank everyone for being here today. And, you know what we found out, our lawyer's not here yet, but, we've got some things that we can go ahead and do because we don't ask for no vote or anything on, so we'll just go ahead and do our meeting. If you would like to speak to an agenda item, anything that's on this green piece of paper here, please sign up with Cindy. And we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. And Blake, would you lead us in our invocation?
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for many blessings of life, and just thank you for a little bit warmer weather, and we just thank you for the opportunity to gather here and to make these decisions, God. And I just ask that you'll give us wisdom and do what's right for the citizens of Avery County. Bless everybody that's here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If you would, please stand and we'll do our pledge of allegiance. Go ahead, Mr. Young.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move right along. 3.2A, proclamations and awards. Do we have
We
any?
do not have any, Madam Chair.
Okay. And 3.2, do we have anyone that wants to speak in public comment? If you do, please raise your hand.
I have one thing to say. Way to go, Avery High Viking wrestling team, so state champions again. So good job.
3.3A, is Miss Brittany here? All right. You can come up and do a presentation for us.
We haven't authorized.
I think we're going to bring Carol up first. It don't make any difference.
I was just going to introduce everybody, if that's quite okay, they can introduce themselves as we go.
All right.
Okay? Here, want to start? Start. Carrie McFalls is our outreach coordinator with the vice president, actually, with the Moore Hospice Services. We have Avery, Yates, Brittany Bond, and Evelyn, and I'm going to let them take it away, whoever wants to go first.
Avery and Evelyn are our co-chairs, so I invite Avery to go up and say a few things.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come in front of you. We have a project going on that we'd like to solicit your help in. A little background is about 20 years ago, I have two adopted daughters that I adopted from their grandmother, and she was dying of breast cancer. At that time, there was no place for them to go and visit her except into a nursing home. And that's when I became involved in working to have an end-of-life facility for the people of the high country. And so I know how to get that accomplished, and I had put it on the back burner to raise those little girls. And so later on, a dear friend who you will hear from in just a second also had an end-of-life need, and so the opportunity came up for us to the project. So I'm going to introduce you to Evelyn, and she's going to share.
Is that one? Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon. I just want to take a moment to thank you for taking the time to listen to us this afternoon share about this exciting project. My name is Evelyn Pierce. I am a High Country community member, born and raised in the High Country. I
My father, Will Pierce, was also born and raised in the high country. At the end of August 2019, my father became extremely ill. He spent from the end of 2019, spent from the end of August to the end of November receiving care at Mission Hospital in Nashville. On November 28, 2019, after many conversations with his doctors, it was decided that end-of-life hospice care was the next reasonable thing. My father wanted to go back to his beloved mountains to spend his last days, but due to the extent of his illness, he needed inpatient hospice care. Because there is currently no inpatient hospice care in our county or the surrounding counties, we started to look at our closest options. Our first option was Caldwell Hospice and Palliative Care. They have two facilities, one located in Lenore and the other in Hudson. Both of these facilities were at maximum capacity. Did not accommodate my father at the time. Our next option was Burke Hospice and Palliative Care. They had an open room and we moved my father there December 2nd, 2019. The facility is approximately 52 miles from our home. My mother, sisters, and I stayed in Morganton every night so that we didn't have to miss out on time with my dad by traveling back and forth. My 81-year-old grandmother made that drive every single day to see her baby boy, and we were blessed it was a mild winter month so that travel was not impacted as much as we know it can around here. You can see our first two options have now combined into the best of both worlds. They are now one company called Amorum, which comes from the Latin word for the act of love. Our first time walking through their doors, we were shown nothing but love, kindness, compassion, hospitality, and so much more. They not only provided anything my father could want or need in his last days, but they also took care of our family. Went above and beyond the call of duty. You will see on the case statement and anything that has to do with Amorum that they use the three words quality, compassion, and support. I can tell you that they live up to those three words in every way possible. My father spent 54 wonderful years in the high country, but 2 years ago in December, he passed away in Burke County because we did not have the resources here at the time. Instead of letting our sadness overtake us, we are using my father's story and turning our pain into purpose. The committee is in desperate need, our community is in desperate need of an inpatient hospice facility, and we would be so grateful to have you jump on board with us to give our fellow community members what they deserve, a peaceful setting in their beautiful mountains to utilize if end-of-life care needs were to arise.
Now have Brittany Bond come up. She is our development director, and she'll give you some more information. So you can hear me. My voice doesn't carry very well. Yes, my name is Brittany Bond. I'm the director of development with Amorum. I have been blessed to work with this organization for the last 13 years. I can recall vividly in 2014 when Amorum was invited. At that time, it was called the Hospice and Palliative Care, to come to the high country, to provide care and to meet underserved needs for patients who need hospice services, palliative care, and to support the families and patients who we were approached multiple times by Appalachian Regional Health System to ask us to come and to help meet this need. And our leadership assessed the need and agreed. Definitely number of people and families who have been. So we've been here for about 7 years providing care. We serve, our high country service area is Avery, Watauga, and Ashe County, our counties. And we've been very blessed, like I said, to serve about 1,200 patients and their families. So during that time, and after collaboration with Evelyn and Anne-Marie, and some other concerned residents, we did some research and determined that there is most certainly a need for inpatient hospice care in the high country. So this would be for anyone who receives hospice services who have a pain or symptom management need or a need at end of life that can't be met in their own home. They'll have a place that feels like home that they can come to have those needs met, to have a place where they can comfortably pass on to the next world, if that's the case, or to have those needs met and get back home. That's their goal, because that's our goal. One of the metrics that we actually looked at when we were determining the need is we looked at our last fiscal year, and
about 32% of our patients in the high country pass away either in the hospital or at one of our patient care units down the mountain, which is an hour to 2 hour round trip drive for their families. Very few people choose to end their days in the hospital or far from their home and far from their families. So, if you want to compare that to our other service areas where we actually have 3 inpatient units, including the first inpatient unit in the state of North Carolina, only about 6% of patients pass away in a hospital setting. We know the value this patient care project will bring to the high country, and as we in the state of North Carolina for a certificate of need, we were awarded that certificate. 6 of those will be for what we call general inpatient care, which is acute or pain management needs. 1 bed will be dedicated to residential care. If a patient needs to come to us because they don't have the support that they need in their home, for a few months, that will also be an option. As we were looking at what to do next, for our next steps were, we found a location that was very central to our service area, and it's in Watauga County, so right off of 421, as convenient as possible to all 3 counties and find at the time. And we have actually completed in the last month our palliative care center, which is the home of our high country local team. That facility is completed. Our team is so excited to move in. Property directly adjacent to it, which we own, has embedded for our patient care. To go, we're just in the process of raising the funds to make this happen. We are coming to you all, commissioners, today. We'll look in our case statement. You can see more information about our campaign, about our project. There's a beautiful rendering from our architect of what our campus will look like. And the last page is the listing of our naming opportunities, and we are asking you all to be willing to support the naming opportunities for our patients in honor of the residents of Avery County.
Extended the same invitation to the Watauga commissioners several weeks ago, and then this morning to the Ashe County commissioners. We have received no indication that they will not fulfill that request. We're all very positive and excited about the project and supporting it.
We are accepting pledges, of course, and up to a 5-year period to pay the pledge. So we're wanting to extend this offer to you all as an opportunity, as a legacy for the people of Avery County to have ownership of part of this city. We're going to be here for generations. I can't even tell you how many people and their families have been served in our other facilities and what special places. Has anyone on the board had an experience with hospital, an experience in a patient unit? Difference it makes to have that additional support. A loved one to go, for you to go if you know that it's going to be at home. Makes a huge difference. That's it. And we are. Any questions? Unless there's something else you would like?
I would like to add that AMORUM is a nonprofit hospice organization. There are other for-profit hospice organizations, and I'm sure you're aware of, but they are not in the business of opening a patient care unit. Mostly because, and I'll take this off so y'all can hear me better. Mostly because you don't make money off of patient care units. As a nonprofit hospice organization, we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of providing end-of-life care to everyone, regardless of their ability to pay. We wrote off more than $1 million in charity care last year to individuals who could not afford to cover the cost of their end-of-life. Another thing that I wanted to add is that because of our certificate of need that we have received for the state, it was based on the population for Ashe, Avery, and Watauga counties. And that is what the state deemed the maximum amount of numbers, hospice beds, that we can have for this area. So with that being said, unless there's all of a sudden a huge rapid growth in the population, this will be the only facility that the state will license for this area. So that's why we wanted to centrally locate it so that everyone could have access to it.
You all know I've done hospice here in this county for 18 years. I did leave back in 2008 and go to Asheville to work at the John F. Cheever Solace House so I could learn as much as I could about inpatient hospice, because this has been a dream of mine since I started in 2004. And the thing that solidified that was one of our own here in the county, who was a younger lady. When I went to admit her for hospice, the first thing she said to me is, promise me, when I get bad or get close to dying, you will take me out of my house. Like, okay, can you tell me why? And she said, I don't want my children walking in the door every day. My mom died right there. And we are serving, yes, we serve elderly patients, but we are serving more and more younger people also. And people should have the right to die, not with bells and whistles and wires. I did take her to the hospital. Her children were not able to come. Their father chose not to because she was hooked to bells and wires and whistles, and all that would be too traumatic for them. This is definitely a need. Definitely.
It's also important for us to mention that Amorum has partnered with Lisa McCray Nursing, and they will be assisting. That's an important connection to Avery County.
Formerly Caldwell Hospice and Palliative Care, before we merged and became Amorum, does have a strong partnership with the Lisa McCray Nursing. There will be, with this new facility, the potential for even more learning opportunities.
The reason we changed our name from Caldwell Hospice and Palliative Care is we did merge with Burke. So Burke came together with Caldwell, and that we are now Amorum.
Questions might you have?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for presenting this, for your vision. When we got the packet and I was looking over the information that came, I hope my question will not be as themed as the other, just investigatory. Okay. One of the things that I, in talking with other people and with my own self, there's a lot of, I think, confusion about whenever someone says hospice, there's a, you have to differentiate or which one. And I'm not sure how many organizations are currently working in the county, but there seems to be a bunch.
There's actually 4 that can serve Avery County. So with certificate of need in the state of North Carolina, some years back, a hospice could only serve the county they touched. So Avery could serve Mitchell, and we could serve Caldwell because of that little tip in the back of Grandfather Mountain. Yeah, and Burke. That's the only counties we could serve. Same thing with Mitchell, could only serve here. Caldwell could only serve down there. But the state opened up an extended service area. So all you had to do is apply for an extended service area. It was no longer based on what counties you touch, and you could go and serve. That's why some of the local hospices here in this county can serve Yancey, because they had applied for an extended service area. So it's kind of like an open hospice on the corner if you want to. Does that make sense? I mean, anybody can just come in and open a hospice. Let me say this. I think all hospices do a good job across the board. But this, we feel like we give exceptional care, as does everybody else. And this is something that we have found such a need for in this area.
And while there may be other hospice organizations in the service area, we will be the only ones that have this patient care unit. And what we're licensed for, and the state isn't going to issue another additional licensure for another hospice that can be a different patient care unit. And something else that I want to add as well is You know, many of you know Carol, and she is our Vice President of our High Country Services. She leads a local team. We have staff that work and live in Ash, that work and live in Watauga, and work and live right here in Avery County. So most hospice care is provided in the home. But there are times when patients need additional care, whether it's symptom management or pain management. Also, a caregiver may need respite. This patient care unit will offer respite. Patients qualify for up to 5 days of respite, one time a month. 5 days every month, they qualify for respite. So if you're caring for a loved one, and you need that respite, that bed could be available for you to use.
Clear it up a little bit, Jenna?
I think if I could address it just a second, I'm on the fundraising side, but to my personal use, I see us in these communities having smaller hospitals. Right now, those hospitals are maxed out. Our nursing home facilities are maxed out. So these folks don't have a choice. Our folks are dying at home. That may not be the best place for them to pay. So that's one of the reasons, that's one of the differences is hospice provides end-of-life care for folks who choose to not have one of their families or their home, or they may need extra help.
Let me say this, it wouldn't just be for our patients, okay? If Home Hospice has a patient that they have a need, they need to transfer to. If Blue Ridge has a need, they need to transfer a patient, we're gonna do what's best for the patient, okay? And we would work with them to get that patient. So it just would not just be for Morum patients, it would be for anybody that needed that.
I was going to ask if it would be only for the patients that you all served or for the ones that the other hospice companies serve.
Easy process.
Any citizen with an aid within those counties.
Yeah, and yes, correct.
It then be up to the other hospice companies to contact you all of the need or the
They would
family
reach
or?
out to us and say they have hospice patient care unit assistant. They would then transfer them to the unit. Of course, there's more to it than just sending them on over, but we would, if we had a bed available, our top priority would be our own patients. So if we had a full house, we're not going to be able to accommodate if we don't have a bed available. But if we have one available, then we certainly will do that.
And I would certainly offer off the mountain too, if that came,
Correct.
push came to shove. I've transferred many of patients from Avery County to the Lenore. I've transferred many to the Valdez. So, the thing is, I think it was real important what Brittany said. We did have the very first hospice house. So we know what we're doing. Let me just say that when it comes to inpatient hospice care, we know what we're doing. We now have 3 off the mountain, one in Valdez, one in Lenore, and one in Hudson. This would be the 4th.
I think another important point is they give us the ability to have 7 rooms, but the property allows us to expand should the need arise, because we are serving 3 counties. That's important.
We would have to petition the state again, and of course, they would do a study to make sure that the population supports an expansion.
Really, when we petition the state, usually you don't get an answer till October, and we were kind of on pins and needles waiting for someone else to petition. We got an answer like in June. It would have the certificate of need.
It was quite quick.
Yes.
And the letters of support came from every county. So we had hundreds of letters to turn in to the state asking for the certificate of need. Some of those came from Avery County.
How are the number of beds determined by the state based solely on population, or does the age of the population come into play?
I think that it's a pretty complex formula, and I don't think that I can tell you exactly how they determine, but it's population, I think, age index taken of those pieces. And that's also, they use a similar formula to just about skilled nursing beds and those kinds of things as well.
Personally, we understand formulamatic.
I'm sure. And we are reaching out also all over the county to some of the resort areas, also to support us in this capital campaign.
I would like to brag about Avery County that our very first gift and pledge that we've received to this campaign came from the High Country Charitable Foundation. They made a $500,000 pledge for matching, excuse me, sorry, I'll get my number right.
I mentioned it was $500,000.
A $50,000 matching gift pledge program, which we have by far surpassed since then. And so, we received that gift from them, or pledge from them back in September, I believe. And I personally would like to invite you to come look at the palliative office building that we have just opened and moving our staff into. It is located, I don't know if you're familiar with where Blue Ridge Energy is on 421. R.T. Carroll Road is just down there. And we are on Moonstruck Lane. That is where our office building is now. And the patient care unit will be built directly beside of it with the same type of lodge mountain feel.
Thank you all so much for seeing this need. I mean, that's such a vulnerable time in a whole family's life. And I've known Carol for 100 years. And
Tell my age, please.
Tell mine too. It takes special people to see that need and be willing to fulfill it. So thank you guys.
Well, we appreciate the time today, and like I said, we've already presented to Watauga and we presented to Ash. And both of those groups were very positive and have done nothing but indicated that they would move forward with our request. And they're so excited about the project. We hope that you are too.
Ash has called me, so we will talk.
We told them that we were coming here this afternoon. Yeah, they already knew we were going to be here, but no.
Whatever Todd McNeil said, I do not agree.
But please reach out if you have any questions, or if anybody would like to come see the facility, the new office building in off of R.T. Carroll Road, or if you'd like to come down to Hudson to see our newest current patient care unit and see how we operate that and kind of get a feel for how we run those sort of things.
When I read that Carol had gone to Asheville, I said, boy, I've got to see that girl, what's she doing?
We got her back.
Now we're glad she's back.
We are too.
She's
We
been
feel very
a
fortunate.
great help to our county.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And I've got Brittany's number.
Yes, perfect, please.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.3B, our National Forest Plan. Nicholas Lawson.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me today. I've been up here to talk about the forest plan in close to 3 years. So I want to cover two things this morning. I want to talk a little bit about our land management plan, our forest plan, and then I also want to introduce Jen Barnhart, our new district ranger up on the Appalachian Ranger. Cover the plan real quick and make sure that we don't have any questions on that, and then Jen will give an update on herself as well as what's happening up on the Appalachian. So as you guys know, I'm Nick Larson. I'm the district ranger on the grandfather ranger district. So the properties that I administer are the land south of the Blue Ridge, Black Mountain, on over to the Pisgah National Forest manages about 28,000 acres. A big chunk of y'all's property we're administering. That covers absolutely everything from iconic places like Elk River Falls to Harper's Creek, and just all national forests that hike in and fish in and everything else that we might do out there. So I'm really, really excited to say that last month, we've completed our final EIS and forest plan for the Nantahala and Pisgah National. That's a really big deal. This is a 15 to 30-year planning document that guides all of the actions that are happening in the National Forest in that time frame. That's everything from where we're putting trails, to what sort of watershed protections we have in place and are taking, to how we're sustainably managing our forests. Spent a considerable amount of time working on this. We've spent 8 years listening to the public, listening to our partners, listening to local governments, to try to get this right and to really reflect what everybody's interests are on the land. As you look at the plan, you'll see 4 unifying themes throughout the plan. You should see a constant reflection of connecting people to the land, sustaining healthy ecosystems, providing clean and abundant water, and partnering with others. I'm not going to lie to y'all, the plan itself is ginormous. So it's just, this iteration is over 2,000 pages of environmental analysis. So I'm going to start on page 1 and just my way through. In y'all's packet, you should have a 12-page briefing that kind of runs you through all the information that's there. You should also have a link available to you for the actual plan itself, as well as all the appendix. The main thing that I want you guys to be aware of, and really anybody in the county that works for the county or public, feel free to send them my way if there's something in particular that you want to see in that plan. And then, pushing through 2,000 pages, just call me. Where it's at, I can point you right to it. And the plan itself kind of operates like a county plan or a city plan. It breaks up the national forest into different geographic areas, trying to understand what the themes of that area are, what the needs of. And from there, it breaks those land bases into smaller bases, not unlike county. Might have an area, might have a central area in a county, and in the forest we might have an interface area, trails where we have a matrix area in the forest where there's more emphasis on wildlife habitat and forest management. All in all, there's 12 different management areas in the plan itself, and that covers everything from general interface where people are going to be interacting with the forest and getting out into it, to things like wilderness areas, wilderness study areas, of which there's 2, wild and scenic rivers, national historic trails, and things like that. It really covers a large gamut. The other unique thing in the plan that you'll see in there, and this is kind of generalized in that 12-page briefing, is there's these Tier 1 and Tier 2 objectives. So really quickly, what those are is the Tier 1 objectives are what the agency believes that we can do with our current resources and current allocations. Tier 1 is kind of a baseline of what we think is realistic for us to accomplish on our own. Tier 2 objectives are what we think that we can get done with a wider range of partners. As you guys may know, we work incredibly closely with folks like the North Carolina Forest Service. We work with the Wildlife Resources Commission. We also work with a whole host of NGOs like TNC and everybody like that. So when we're partnering with these folks, we can accomplish quite a bit more with resources, with additional help. That's kind of that difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2, what we do with partners versus. So just for context, excuse me, some of the numbers you'll see is Tier 1 objective for things like prescribed burning, the work that we do for that work for whether it's wildlife habitat or reducing wildfire risk to some of our communities. On our own, we're shooting for about 10 to 20,000 acres. Working really closely with the Wildlife Resources Commission, County Emergency Management, that we think it's more realistic for us to accomplish 20. Otherwise, road maintenance has differences versus what we can get done. So we are in the final steps of this plan right now. So the final plan is out there. There's a draft decision that's out. This is the objection period right now. How that works is we've spent 8 years working with the public, working with our partners to be able to determine, to listen and pay attention and try to reflect everybody's interests and values. The objection period is that 30-day window for people to say, you missed a point that I was trying to. You didn't quite understand the comment that I was making. Assuming we get no objections, run through and have a final decision, and we should be ready to implement this plan. There are objections that might take a little bit. complicate that a little bit more because we are the federal government. You have a 60-day objection window, and then at the end of that, there's a 10-day window for interested parties. So if there's something in this plan that you really, really hold near and dear to your heart, say that it's incredibly important that this follows through, that would be your opportunity to be an interested party and say, you know what, I want to be at the table if something's new. So that's kind of what the plan is looking like right now. I'll open it up. I'll offer two things. I'll open up to any questions that you might have here, and then I just want to remind you, if you do have questions, don't hesitate for a minute to give me a shout. I'm more than happy to talk with you. I'm more than happy to meet with you guys or anybody, any county employees that this might direct through what's in the plan, how that might be changing. Any questions that you've got on that before we bring Jen up here?
You go say.
I think Jen can introduce herself, but I think she's got some updates for you just on general forest actions and things that are happening like around Elbert. That's outside of, other than the pretty pictures and the couple of times I've taken my kids up there.
I'll wait and ask her.
One of the things, as I was reading through this information, which thank you for the synopsis and not the entire
Up to
plan.
402 pages.
I must say, I chuckled when I saw the word interface used so extensively. I never thought of using interface when it comes to forest situations. That's more of a computer technical term in my view, but I understand where you're going. And the second thing I'm glad you clarified was that there was a component in here that spoke of the partnering with differing groups. And you answered my questions mostly because I was going to ask, what's the scope of those groups? Because there's so many folks that have differing views of what constitutes management, what constitutes usage, how restrictive, how open. So I was wondering how broad that partnership and working with those groups would be in terms of coordinating all of the differing views of everybody telling you what to do, what you do.
It's broad. It's incredibly broad. And as you might guess, public land management has a spectrum of interest. Really, that diversity is part of the reason that it's taken 8 years. I think the one thing to put it into context of how broad this perspective is, I'll reflect more on kind of what we do at the district level. So we work with a really good host of folks on covered forest landscape restoration. Really implements a lot of our forest management activities, prescribed burning and all that. And in that organization, we've got every interest that you can think of, from this advocates to the wildlife and fisheries interest, organizations like the Nature Conservancy. I have a huge representation from timber industry, but we do have a couple of contacts. We really do the hustle to make sure that we've got a really broad spectrum. And surprisingly, while there is conflict and people certainly don't agree on absolutely everything, we're able to get a lot of work. The last 10 years that we've been working on that, been incredibly successful. And here we're expanding that to the entire Pisgah National Forest. Same amount of collaborative energy and we've been as hard as that coordination with really diverse goes, we've been really lucky and really successful with it.
Nick, one public comment that I've received as manager is providing clean and abundant water for agricultural purposes. This plan supports that, correct?
It's not directly like there's not a direct for agricultural purposes, but absolutely, it's a hallmark of the resources that we provide on that. And abundant water.
A river that runs through a family farm, they're still going to be able to use that for irrigation if when those dry seasons come.
Yeah, this doesn't restrict in any way, shape, or form existing water rights. Our role is to make sure that
One thing you mentioned, the amount of acreage in every county that's taken up by public lands, and I'm supposed to debate me when I tell them, if the county is roughly, is.
that 18% is just the U.S.
Plus all the others, so, that takes away from utilization of that for any other purpose other than that, and we sort of concentrates all of the statistics and all the things that we're doing, that people realize that that's in a much concentrated area than the total county footprint. And it helps us from our planning standpoint, really realize that when you look at, because a lot of times the numbers don't play out well when you look at the entire from a map, for instance.
If you look at how many people per acre there are in acre, take into effect that 20% of it is public. All right, if there's not any other questions, I'll let Jen come up here and introduce herself, and I'll sign off, and I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to say good afternoon since Nick said good morning. I'm the afternoon girl. So yes, I'm Jen Barnhart. I'm the district ranger on the Appalachian Ranger District. Our office is located on Mars Hill and covers 6 counties. So you guys are one of the 6 counties. And Madison and Buncombe. I've been here for a little over a year and a half. I'm really happy to be here in North Carolina. I've worked in the Forest Service for the past, over 10 years and more as a permanent all in the southern region and in the mountains of South Carolina. I moved to New Hampshire and Maine for a little bit, and then I made my way back down here. Just shout that out. You guys live in a beautiful place, and I'm community too. In terms of the Appalachian District for Avery County and what that means to y'all, yes, exactly what Nick pointed out. Elk River Falls, that's your area that I know has lots and lots of use, and the counties. We're very thankful and appreciative. There's a high demand that all when it comes to Elk River. And recognize that appreciation. In terms of the forest plan, if you look at the little parcel that's up in the Appalachian District, that's mostly consistent of, like I said, Elk River Falls, but it also does have the portion of the Appalachian Trail, and that area is the Over Mountain Shelter. If you guys are familiar with that area, Warren Creek Road, the barn, folks call it barn as well. So that is another area that I wanted to highlight a little bit. In our current plan, at it, we're not supposed to have any structures with the Appalachian Trail when there's a road, for instance. We have another shelter that overnight at. So eventually the new plan will be implemented in very similar things that were in the Appalachian plan or have pretty much been moved and not really any changes in manage the Appalachian Trail into the. So at some point soon, I will be scoping out the Over Mountain Shelter safety concerns. If you haven't been aware, that has been closed under a forced closure for quite a while because of the fact that the structure is no longer safe. We have had a structural engineer come and look at it last summer and provide us a report and it's structurally sound with a large amount. Also know though that area is a that locals like to come to. It's very beautiful and has a very nice overlook there, and folks there and camp. I'll be scoping to get input about that if we were to decommission shelter, and what options would. In my mind, if the shelter wasn't there, we would want to provide some kind of couple ticket tables with a pavilion or a down there. They can still enjoy there. If you're local, having your lunch there, and camping is still would be there provided as it always has. Also a golden winged warbler habitat area, so we work on that portion of it. So just wanted to give you that. Nothing has come out yet. I just wanted to give you that as a heads up. When I do scope that, I'll make sure that you guys likely will do a virtual meeting. It's pretty hard nowadays with the public, and then on the COVID, that I'll be working on a video to go over so people could actually, and then we can have a forum happen. Those are, I think, the two items that I really have questions or.
What my question was is there a plan to innovate, rebuild, or replace shelter at the head of Rolling Creek? Touched on it, but,
Over Mountain Shelter to actually replace the whole thing the way that it is, the barn?
will there be a shelter there?
It will be not like a barn shelter, so it would be more like a pavilion. So a small pavilion where it's basically there's picnic overhead if it's raining. If you're there to overnight, you would be able to make your food and not have be rained on. It would, and to be determined until we get scoping, right? Until you get public input from locals, from the partners, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. It's really the Tennessee Eastman that manages that section of the trail and manages that also the inlet there. So that's all partner volunteered.
Because I know that as you probably do, but years that has been used, that's been a destination for people. If we can make it to there, then we'll have shelter for the night. But William will not provide that.
You would have to do camping, or it's only a little, I can't remember, hour or so to the next one. There's another shelter that's super in that range of the Appalachian Trail. You actually have to come off the Appalachian Trail and trek down. Yeah, we definitely are taking that input, so folks have input, that would be the kind of comments we do.
The other question was, is there a plan to, for any kind of safety at Elk River Falls?
There is new signage, and that's helped, I
Other
think.
than the signs.
I don't, other than, the one thing as Nick talked about, we look at tier 2, and that's that part where we work with partners and volunteers, and so there could be something that's created. We have an AmeriCorps Vista steward that works with volunteer services and partners to help increase across our counties in the Appalachian District. So some areas, we do this a lot when it comes to hiking and trailhead areas, trying to inform folks before they start trekking and hiking into areas that might be unsafe. That could be an idea if we have the volunteers or a partner group where they would be able to help assist us capacity-wise, and that's where you're engaging with folks there and letting them know in person, an actual verbal versus not everyone likes to read signs, right? Or if I do read the sign, do I really have pressure that I want to really matter if it says that something really, death at this location? So that is something we could look at. That's the most success I've seen when it comes to dangerous or hazardous places. Either peer pressure or some folks realize what actually actually can happen. Yeah, if you have partners or other folks interested in my way, I would be happy for folks looking. Nick said, if you have any questions about the forest plan, that's up towards obviously the North Carolina-Tennessee line, Appalachian District, you can see as well. I have my card, I can leave it.
Thank you for coming.
I have one more positive. So, U.S. Capitol Christmas tree, guess what? It's coming our way. North Carolina has been selected this year. Usually it's a western tree out west that comes off a national forest. So since 1970, National Forest has provided a Capitol Christmas tree that goes up to the Capitol in Washington office. It's an undertaking. And so no district or county of where that tree is coming off of on the National Forest has been selected. Architect that has to come down, look at the tree. We really want to be able to have county engagement or engagement. It takes over 15,000 ornaments or more that gets all sent up and put up in Washington. And so if you guys have any interest, Avery County, it would be really cool to have a county ornament that comes to that tree or something that this community is engaged in. We're working on a subcommittee that will be reaching out on that, but that's a pretty cool deal. It doesn't happen often. The last one over this way was in 1990 that came off of this. But I did want to end on that. It's a very cool, positive, interactive pride, I would say, when it comes to North Carolina and Christmas.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move right along to 3.3C, Toe River Health District Pay Study.
We have Diane Creek with us today, so I'll let her start. And I think Woody wanted to say, you want to say stuff now?
I served on the board, Toe River Health District Board. And we're very fortunate to have Miss Diane as our director. As you all know, in the recent past, there's been a bit of turnover with the health departments in all three counties. And Diane has done extensive work in trying to find out why. The main reason is pay. There has not been, Diane will probably touch more on this, but there has not been a pay study done for the River Health District in over 20 years. And I'm sorry, that's the River Health District Board's fault. I haven't been there for 20 years, so but we cannot, we had,
Maps.
yeah, we did have the MAPS company to do the pay study. They're very good. Hard to get companies to do these pay studies. They did it and they did a good job. We really did. We got a bargain with what the study shows. What I started to say is we were paying entry level someone, you walk in the health department, greets you, that answers the phone, it does a whole lot. I'm not going to say a majority. I mean a lot of paperwork. We were paying them $11 an hour. That was the entry level, and that is unacceptable completely. We lost 2 excellent employees. This office over here, because they loved what they were doing. They absolutely worked to death during COVID. They left for more money. Lost several nurses across the district. I think as many as 3 the same doctor's office. Correct, Diane?
Nurses and a front desk.
Same doctor's office. Hey, money. You could offer them so much more money. And less work. Work less stressful. I just wanted to mention that to the board. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Diane. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. So I've been here 5 years, and when I started, public health is notorious for being underpaid. I mean, across the country, low paid job. But when I came here, people hadn't had a raise for a couple of years, and so that was one of the first things I wanted to do, because our front desk at that time were starting at $9.46 an hour. They were starting at $9.46 an hour until maybe a year ago. Then we raised it to $11 for the front desk. But so we did a raise in 2017, 2018, and we haven't had a raise since. We don't do cost of living. Things need to change. Resources at the health department. We haven't done cost of living. We've just stayed kind of status quo. And then when COVID happened, I mean, we all know how hard everybody worked over at the health department, how many hours they put in, you know, weekends, nights, and all of that. And so now, I mean, our nurses start at $17 an hour right now, and we can't touch a nurse. We can't hire a nurse to save our life, because they can go to a private physician, they can go to the hospital, they can go to other clinics and make more money, and it'll be less stressful for them. So I really would love to have this salary survey approved by the commissioners. For Avery County, the cost for you guys, so you've got your clinic staff, and then you've got admin. So your admin staff, you only pay a third of that. You pay a third, Mitchell pays a third, and Yancey pays. So for your staff who are over in the health department building, the additional cost would be $97,290, and that's everybody who's working over. Your share of the admin cost would be $19,613, a total of $116,903. Now, that does not include benefits. So benefits would probably be another 22 to maybe 24% off of that. You know, that would be insurance and all that kind of thing. So I think it's the only way we're really going to be able to survive and to keep on hiring people. In Yancey County, we're losing staff, I mean, just almost daily. We're almost out of staff down at Yancey County. The end of February, I'm losing our nurse practitioner down there. I'm losing our nursing supervisor on the 18th of February. The one nurse that we do have there is looking for a job, and she thinks she's found one. So basically all I'll have there is 2 front desk people and a lab person. I mean, and there's nothing I can do. I've run ads on Indeed. We've had ads on our Facebook pages. We've had ads on our website, just constantly. And we don't even get any nurse applicants. None at all. Just pretty dire. Pretty dire. Any questions? I'll point out to the board, number one, if I'm the manager, I will stay on the Tow River Health Board to make sure there are cost of living adjustments in the future, because you cannot let this stuff fester as long as it is festered. Also, the health director does not have an assistant, but this will give the health director an assistant/human resource person, and we will split the cost, a third each. And we think that will change things. The fringe will be about $32,948, so it's going to cost about $164,738 for a full year to implement. Now, we're halfway through. I would like for the board to consider making this motion effective January 1st, to implement the pay study, and to backdate those changes in the salary. And with the salaries.
January 1st?
January 1st. And we also discussed at the manager/health director meeting that there will be expectations. This is just not a handout. This is for change. And this is for betterment for our citizens from our health department. And that will be expected. So, that's my 10 cents worth.
Well, you've got another 2 cents worth you can elaborate on. But, I think Diane will tell you, I don't think she'd go to Mitchell-Yancey County and say it, but I say it in every board meeting. We have the best health department of the 3 counties. We really do. But also, our environmental health, the health department, earns profit every year. When, health was sold, money that was gleaned from that has now been divided 3 ways. We have enough resources in that to pay this for the remainder of the year without any problem.
So we'll use our profits and fund balance to do this for the first year. Next year, during budget time, we'll work on what we do for next year. That's agreeable.
Does that make sense? What I said makes sense? It does to me, because I hear it often.
I'd be remiss if I didn't, well, because I gave Wade a real hard time on the budget. This is not just a problem here, it's a problem in every industry, just a problem in this country right now. The work ethic's down, everybody thinks they're entitled to more than they are, and it's not specific to any one area, but I do see I don't know, hospitals can't hire nurses, so.
I know. If we can institute this salary study, it'll take a nursing salary, starting nursing salary from $17 an hour to $4 an hour. And I think we can be competitive with $24 an hour. Over the last 2 years with COVID, your reserves have grown. So the reserves are the home health money that each county has. And so since we got a lot of COVID money, that paid our salaries for at least the first year. So 2020 was mostly paid for by state COVID money because all of us were doing COVID work. So the state basically paid our salaries. That 2020. 2021 has been a little bit different. We still have staff that were working in COVID, but not as many staff because I wanted them to get back to focusing on the clinic, and getting the clinics back open and getting, patients back in the door. And so we outsourced some of the COVID work, but in the meantime, your reserves have grown. So you guys are pretty healthy with your reserve savings account.
Any more discussion?
Well, I would, I see, like I said from everyone else, see the need from a retainage standpoint. A little disturbing that it got to this point.
Yeah.
That is my concern, that there was not a preemptive or not just reactionary, but to try to get ahead of it. And so now we're sort of trying to put all the, well, not necessarily, no, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a full 4x4 dressing. It's not a Band-Aid. So with that being said, we're having to kind of put everything, implement all at one time and do everything at one time. And so I think from my viewpoint, it is, the need is there. We can see where that would be. It is difficult whenever you're working in a multi-jurisdictional situation, because you are providing in many ways for things outside of your service area. Even though they're separate, they are tied in many ways. And we've heard, all of us heard from people that leave, that this is the rationale. And so I think we move to implementation, but I think with that implementation, there should be a pretty high level of expectation that, we're not going to get this, and every department that's ever come before me in a budget meeting will hear this and they get tired of it, I know, but money in and of itself is not going to solve the problem.
Right.
So there has to be some other way of ensuring that there is balances that come to pass here and accountability for this, and that's sort of component of this entire thing. I think we need to be aware of, and the board, the county managers, all the folks that are hands-on this, I think take that seriously, and hopefully that will come to pass, where we're not just reacting to a situation and then it's going to stop, but that this is something that we are aware of and continue to address.
And I agree with you. I don't see this happening again. When I started in 2016, our HR duties were with our finance officer, and she's not a trained HR person. On human relations or human resources is not necessarily an easy job, and so this was one area that I wanted to clean up for 5 years, because I've worked other places that have a salary schedule that any employee can look at, and they can tell what salary they're going to be at, as long as their performance is good, what salary they'll be at year 3, 4, 5, on up to the time when they top out. Here we don't have that. We have this minimum salary, medium salary, and then a top salary. There's nothing in between. And so when I started, it was based on the judgment of our finance officer. That doesn't work for me. So I got involved, and to make sure that it was done fairly, deciding on somebody's salary. Then there was all these rules that were thrown in there, from the state. And so I've never had time to really sit down and study it and figure out what the rules are and what the rules aren't. But with an HR person who's supposed to start, we're having an interim person start the first part of March to do our HR and start getting it cleaned up. And she's going to work on everything from job descriptions to evaluations to the salaries to orientation, because our orientation is terrible. It's embarrassing. I mean, this stuff, we are not professional. As we sit there right this minute, it's not professional, and I don't like that. It's because that's a reflection on all of us as Toe River, and it's a a reflection on me, and I don't like that. And so, I want it cleaned up as much as the board does. And the board will hold me accountable, and I in turn will hold everybody else accountable. I don't have a problem with that. It needs to change, honestly. You know, it needs to be done right.
Put your mind at ease, Dennis, it has been discussed numerous times, board meetings, accountability.
And why did we let ourselves get in this? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that, you know, and it, like a lot of things this board inherited, whatever health district inherited this mess.
I noticed on the exhibit here, the plan, there's still not anything, there's just 3 steps, basically, that's on the plan. Everything else is subjective in terms of placement of people within that.
The steps. Yeah, there's gonna be steps. There's gonna be yearly steps. And the benefit of a yearly step, for one, you know, I as a staff person can look and see where I'm gonna be next year if I have a good performance evaluation. Second benefit is that I, as a health director, can look and see where our staff is going to be next year. And then the board and the commissioners can also look at that and see, you know, how the salaries are going to go up, as long as they get a good performance evaluation. So, yeah, there will be a plan, there will be yearly steps, because I couldn't believe it when I moved here that there weren't steps. Like, well, how do you decide for people, you know, what kind of raise do you give people? It was just this willy-nilly, pull it out of the air kind of, and it's like, well, that's really not good enough for me. So, I want something on paper, I want something planned, I want it fair. So, yeah, that'll change.
And performance is going to have a whole lot to do with their evaluation on whether or not they get the step. It's not just going to be a yearly thing. That has been discussed.
Really, honestly, most staff people really are good workers. You know, I've got probably 2 in the whole district out of 55 that aren't, and they're not here. So
We know that.
yeah, they're not here. So we know where they are. Yeah, and so there's only 2 that, you know, honestly, if I could trade them out, I would trade them out. So yeah, everybody here they work hard, they have good attitudes, they show up to work, they do what they're supposed to do, they serve the people.
So you get some nuts and bolts. The implementation of this would not constitute a budget amendment for this fiscal year.
And we want to do a budget amendment next year because we will plan accordingly. But all 3 counties have to agree to this, and we are the first county to ask for a motion.
All right, here I come.
Retroactive, but
Here I come. This is a pretty substantial budgetary decision. That's a good bit of money. If we approve this, this is going to obligate us to do this going forward. With that in mind, I'm gonna put a motion on the floor right here. And this is not anti-anything, this is further consideration. So I move that this be tabled budget discussions. I think this is a big budgetary item. I mean, that's what, 100 and some odd.
164.
Plus another 25%.
No,
that's everything.
Yeah.
That's everything. That's what's free.
We spend a lot of time over 164,000 if this was a budget. We were in a budget workshop right now. So with that said, this is a big budgetary decision. This is going to obligate us to do this recurring from now on. So I move to table until our budget workshop, or our budget workshops begin. I'd like to discuss this in the budgeting process, because this is not a one-time expense, this is every year.
We're having our first workshop.
That's not a direct budget workshop, that's a
Okay.
board workshop. I think this needs to be taken up in the budget process. I've put, that's a motion.
I hear a second.
We'll second that for the sake of discussion.
All in favor?
Let's discuss.
All right.
Because we can't discuss until we get to that point.
I think on this board, being on the Cold River Health District Board, knowing what I do, knowing the problems that the health district has, even hiring employees, much less retaining employees. We've been looking for a environmental health specialist in Yaxley County for how long?
Over a year.
Tells you something. I think that would put this board doing something that we have almost vowed we would not do. Taking the camp down the road.
You said we were the first to consider this. What is the time frame with the other counties as far as approving?
There's a meeting tonight, and
I'm
Nancy
going
is
to
next
Mitchell,
Monday.
yeah, I'm going to Mitchell tonight after I get done here, and then Nancy is next Monday.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not I'm not against this. I understand the need, but I also understand exactly what Lee was telling us in the budget workshop. He's having a hard time hiring people too.
Addressed his. Not?
Not in the way that they would have chosen.
You ain't never gonna satisfy the sheriff.
I just feel like it deserves more consideration.
Can I say something since my name was brought up?
Well, I'm gonna agree with Woody. I think it's something that we need to face before we lose some more people in our health department. And I'm gonna agree with him because the money is there. If we didn't have the money, then I'd give it a second thought and want to try to work in the budget workshop to find it. But we've already know where the money's coming from, and that's just my opinion. I don't think we need to kick it down any further. I saw some good employees leave our county, and it has. When I found out why they were leaving, and then the study and stuff, common sense will teach you that you're gonna have to face this, and we just might as well face it before we lose any more employees.
I can see those points. I also can see place in that we have. I don't think where this year's money from is consideration, because what we're doing is establishing a new threshold, and so this year's is just, that's a one-time
bonus,
that we're drawing from. But from this point forward, it's going to have to be a budgetary consideration. So I just want to be sure that we're aware as we go forth that just because this year it's not due to a budget amendment does not mean that it is not going to be a budgetary consideration.
And that's right.
I just want to.
Roughly, or a little more than half a penny on the tax rate.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I'm not hard,
Pennies, usually 288.
What's been
Yeah,
bring?
I'm not doing math. My math ain't working.
The fiscal year that we're currently in was
Right, so 3/10 of the penny. When you consider it's recurring. I'm not, like I said, please don't construe this as me saying I don't think this isn't needed or isn't. There are broader considerations in my opinion.
All right. Are we through with discussion? Everybody satisfied? All right, we have a motion on the floor. And a second. Everybody in favor of going ahead and,
Motions to table.
Motion's to table.
Motion to table, so, but we have to specify time of budget, don't we, sir? The table till, don't we, Michelle? Correct.
pardon me, no, exactly, you have a motion and a second.
To table, we have to specify when it's tabled until, is that correct?
I think you said that was part of your motion.
Yeah, is that,
Table
it has to
until
be
the
there,
budget.
doesn't it?
You had,
Okay.
that's what I think your motion said, was
Yeah.
table it until the budget
Yeah.
process.
Because I was gonna amend the motion if that didn't have to be included.
I
'cause
think
someone
that's
will
what
take
you
it up.
said.
It is.
Yeah.
But that has to be included, right?
Yeah, I think
thought so.
that's, yeah.
Okay. I was gonna amend the motion to a future meeting or something if we needed to, but my motion, I'll leave my motion as it.
all right? We've heard how the motion is. Now then, all it's for tabling it, raise your right hand. And those that are not, raise yours.
You want to table?
No,
You
I've
raised
changed,
You raised your hand.
yeah, I did, and I'm changing my vote to another, to what,
Another vote.
all right? Let's go back and, Blake got me confused.
I was just trying to clarify if I made that motion correctly.
All right, now we've heard the motion. Everyone that's for tabling it, raise your hand. Those that are against tabling it, raise your hand. All right? So we need a motion to approve the
So it'd
study.
be if anyone else wants to make a motion.
So look,
I guess it's still on the floor. Does anyone else want to make a motion?
All right, does anybody else want to make a
I'd like to
motion?
make a motion that we approve the pay study, make it retroactive back to January 1.
I'm on second. I respect the board's wishes. My feelings are known, but I respect the board's wishes, and the board has spoken.
All in favor?
Let me muddy the waters one more time. What is is the retroactivity, is that from a physical budgeting point, or what is our rationale for retroactive?
That would be at the 6 months, the halfway.
What I'm saying is, I mean, if that's a,
And the health board met on this in October, November, December, and we beat it to death. And we went to Yancey County and stayed 3 hours. And those employees have worked their tail off, and they deserve a raise. And it's been a COLA raise, however you pull that off, I don't know. In 2017 is the last raise they got.
okay, I'm just wondering, that's
So,
kind of
it's
an
just-
unusual thing.
It is, and it's just trying to
do
boost
the-
morale and say thank you for working your tail off, for our county citizens.
I just,
And I'm worried about that group over there.
Yes.
All 3 counties have to vote for this for this to happen, but for her not to have a assistant and a human resource person is crazy. Now she can do her job as a director, and I'm gonna expect her to do her job as a director, because she don't have to stay and write letters now that her administrative assistant / human resource person can do. And they can take care of all the personnel stuff and work on the salary plan, and she can be the health director. And that is much needed, and we needed this 3 years ago before COVID was even a word.
Yeah, that's right. That person would also, they would do HR 70%, my assistant 20%, and then be a grant writer for 8%, which is awesome, and then 2% would just be other. But, I mean, a grant writer, there's money out there. We just can't write for it.
You don't have time to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I work 7 days a week. I've worked 7 days a week since COVID, for 2 years, and we just don't, I don't have anybody I can delegate to. I don't have anybody underneath me that has any spare time at all. So,
Told the whole Toll River Health District Board more than once, because we have met a lot. Board pays a lot too. You get, before evening, you get home 9:30, 10 o'clock. But I've told them multiple times, we are very fortunate as a district to have Diane as a director. Because I don't know of anyone else, never heard of anyone else that would have done what she has done. Not just herself with her own time. And you're talking, and I've known 7 days a week, and we've had people in our own health department that have worked 7 days a week. I'm talking not 8 hours and go home. I'm talking about take it home with you and working 12 and 14 hours a day. It just, you know, I don't know that I've done it. Regardless of the money.
it has nothing to do with the money to me. It has everything to do with service. And
I know
so,
that. And the
but
health,
it comes at a cost.
the Toll River Health District does provide a very much needed service to the citizens, also on the service bids.
I would say this. If people wasn't dedicated, they ever won off the top.
They'd be gone, yeah.
They would ever one be
Yeah,
walked
that's
off
right.
for the price that they was
Yeah.
getting.
Because there's better jobs out there. You know, we used to be able to sell our benefits, but we can't sell our benefits anymore because we used to have free health insurance, but then we transferred to the state because it was cheaper. And so now we're on state health insurance, and they won't let us have free health insurance anymore. Now, it's still really cheap. It's $25 for a 70-30 plan and $50 a month for a 80-20 plan for an employee. But, I mean, there are places that pay more that make up that difference. And we don't have the flexibility we used to have. We just don't have any selling points like we used to have.
Call for question, I think we.
Got a motion on the floor and a second by Mr. Vance. Thank you, sir.
I'll wait a minute.
Are we through discussing that?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand of the motion.
Now, let me explain that. Everybody's laughing. I have my opinion. I said I wasn't against it. I have my opinion. The board had another opinion, and I support what the board says. That's not always been the case on this board. And I respect that the board makes a decision, Blake doesn't. And so that's where I am on that. That's why I say.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
And thank you, Diane.
We'll go fight Mitchell.
Yes, I will.
Text me
Thank you.
tonight.
I appreciate it.
Text me tonight.
I will.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
Oh, great.
do you all wanna take a 3-minute recess, or you wanna go on? Go on? Everybody ready, or okay? All right, we'll go on then. 3.3, if anybody needs to go, you're welcome to go. 3.3D, Mr. Bruce Daniels, our tax administrator.
I can be quick and brief, so, I'd like to submit the January collection totals for your approval at, $3,127,114.34.
Approved. Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay?
Have no releases for your approval this month. So,
Right,
moving on to the sales numbers, you can see we're still slightly down from where we were last January with 76 sales. It's still a robust amount of sales for this time of year. I would usually expect it to be still running very hot, so 76 sales at 89%. Last year at 83%. The market is predictable as usual. For your approval, as far as for advertising for past due taxes, I do have an amount of outstanding taxes for your approval to advertise. We have a balance of $1,340,209. With that outstanding balance, we're right at 94%. Slightly ahead of where we were this. So we're actually our overall collections total. So as of today at 3 o'clock, our advertisement total. $75.
Move to approve.
I'll give you
Second.
75.
All right. We've got a
You'll
motion
collect the
on
rest
the
of it.
Yes, sir.
floor.
Does that motion include ever,
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Permitted advertising.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right,
That's all I have for you today.
okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you
Good
for
job,
those
Carl.
releases.
The amount due was $22,035,000, and they've collected off at $1,343,000.
Before advertising.
Wow.
I feel that's some exceptional collection stuff. Like I said, that's slightly ahead of where we've been each.
Thank you for no releases.
Didn't think you heard that, because I said, okay.
Bruce,
Sir.
thank you for no releases.
Yes, sir. I looked at you when I mentioned that. However, I will forewarn you, I have at least one for next month.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.3E, our resolution to award retired Sheriff Kevin Fry's sidearm and badge.
This is a resolution that the sidearm, being a Glock 40 caliber pistol and Model 23 serial number BAEC255 is surplus and shall be awarded to Kevin Fry for due consideration for the sum and amount of $1. And be it yet further resolved that the badge for Kevin Fry is hereby declared surplus and shall be awarded to Kevin Fry pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 2187.2. This is the 7th day of February 2022.
Move we adopt the resolution. Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
I can almost do that.
Okay. 3.4A, our county manager's report.
I will try to be brief. So our COVID numbers, surprisingly, the month of January was not as bad as November of 2020. So even though a lot of people have been positive and the positive rate for the state went up, we are seeing a decrease. Anyone has any COVID concerns, there's testing 6 days a week still at the pool, and there are vaccines available, there are masks, there is hand sanitizer, and we will do anything we can. The number 733-8273 is still being answered by Jerry and his staff at the Ag Center, so I want to thank them for that, to help direct people when they do have a need. Any questions on COVID? Broadband, there is $350 million in the Great Grant, program. I've let all our interested providers know how to get those grants. That opened up February 1st. There is a lot of concern of the entire nation going after this money and going after product and wire and goods that will be needed to facilitate all this. And unfortunately, the suppliers have decided that they would like to go up on their product. And so, yes, I have called our congressman to let them know of that concern. With the whole nation needing broadband at the same time, the timeline in which to spend that American Rescue Plan and this great grant money, in my opinion, needs to be extended so we can do the right thing for the citizens.
I would call that price gouging.
I would call it price gouging myself. Yeah, so, they were very interested and thanked me for the update, and the provider that let me know what they were doing, is going to talk to Congressman's staff about those problems. In your agenda consent items, there are, an update from BioHealth. There's an update on the historic home here going to be deemed in the county. Avery Chamber of Commerce, has announced the Avery County Summerfest, and noticed that Ann had to leave, but she has worked hard on this. And today's email said they have 50 vendors that are going to be at this. This will be at the community center, on the grounds at the community center, the first Saturday and Sunday of June. Ian, what's the date? I can't remember. You've got it in your packet. You've got it in your packet. So, Manna Food Bank is this Thursday. For anyone in need, you'll be at the Rock Gym. Grab food for that. Department of Insurance has a letter in your packet also. All fire departments have passed this time, so that was great. We worked on a COOP plan today with the department heads, and I know that they probably hate me if there are any of them in here that throw something at me, because it's not fun to work on a plan like that's this involved, but it is very important. And it does also help with grants, when we go after grants, if we have a comprehensive plan for operations to continue in our county. So that's very good. Housing study is also in your agenda consent. If anyone would like to go for that presentation, it's 402 pages, and I went in and printed out what I think I want to see and highlighted, and I think I know what it says, but we need to go to this luncheon that day to get the official word that I am reading it correctly. And just to remind the public, they did start on the Highway 105 bridge expansion. So just be cautious and tune in your radios and all that stuff when you're traveling the boat. So that started today. So we'll see what happens. Any other questions? Pretty much what's in your information.
All right, we'll move along to 3.4B.
Wait a minute, you haven't done that mission statement.
3.4A2.
All right, 3.A2.
That'll be our mission statement for the Avery County Economic Development Advisory Committee.
All right.
And on behalf of the committee, I will read, this has been approved by the committee. Our charter will be the Avery County Economic Development Advisory Committee shall serve as an advisory board for the Avery County Board of Commissioners and the Avery County Manager. Our mission statement will be the mission of the Avery County Economic Development Advisory Committee is to encourage and support the retainage and expansion of existing business in the Avery County area, support local infrastructure projects, work to attract new business opportunities to increase the local tax base, and improve the quality of life for residents. The reason we want this is so we can focus on when an idea comes up at the committee, if it doesn't meet a goal of that mission statement, then we're not, that's not our purpose. And we are working on a new business guide toolbox, and this will help us direct and focus where we want to be. So I just ask that we approve the committee's recommendation for our charter and our mission statement.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a
Pick up
second.
last night, I think it's-
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for coming today.
I wanted to thank Clayton Harpo, because he headed up this project under EDC. And he did a great job, and this is something that usually takes forever, and he accomplished it in a record amount of time.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. All right? We'll go to 3.4B, Finance Office. Caleb?
Getting paid by the budget amendment again.
Good afternoon, board. I have 7 for you today, not quite as many as last month. I tried my best, but here we are with 7. Item number 1, the Transportation Department has received an insurance reimbursement for damage done to one of the transportation vans. The board approved the following budget amendment: to debit auto supplies, general fund line item 6300.3100 in the amount of $2,734.04, and insurance reimbursements, general fund line item 3340, $2,734.04.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Item number 2, the Department of Social Services has received an allocation of $18,292 from the state, and an additional $102,438 for Pandemic LEAP, Low Income Energy Assistance Program. Request the board adopt the following budget amendment: to debit LEAP, general fund line item 6800.6095 in the amount of $120,730, and to credit county welfare, general fund line item 3634 in the amount of $120,730.
Move to adopt.
I hear a second.
Question, how,
Whiten Smith.
either of those entries match either one of those numbers?
So, it's the combined total of those two numbers I gave, the 120,000, and I have some more information on that. So we originally budgeted, LEAP at $63,288. That was on our allotment estimate that we had during budget time. The actual allotment from the state was $77,710. Then an additional $370, an additional $3,500, and then the $102,438. It came in increments, but total from the state, additional allotment was the $18,292, and then the pandemic LEAP, which was a large amount, was the $102,438. So the total of those two, the sum is $120,000. That will bring that budget line item to a total allotment of $184,000.
And we have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Item number 3, the Department of Senior Services has received money from the Seniors Health Insurance Information Program to purchase a dedicated laptop and monitor system. Request the board adopt the following budget amendment: to debit capital outlay, general fund line item 5960.7400, an amount of $3,700, and credit Senior Services State Grant, general fund line item 3671, an amount of $3,700.
I hear a motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Item number 4, Western Youth Network's Avery Mentoring Program discovered that they had missed an invoice for April of 2021. In order to pay them their full allotment, a budget amendment will need to be done. Request the board approve the following budget amendment: to debit Juvenile Services Homeschool Coordination Mentoring Program. I'm not sure why this line item's called what it is, but that's the name of the line item. General fund line item 7000.6130, an amount of $1,362.30, and credit fund balance appropriated general fund line item 3990, in the amount of $1,362.30.
All right, now I hear a motion to approve.
So moved.
I hear a second.
Second. Question.
Yes.
They bill us monthly.
No. Some of the programs do bill monthly, some do quarterly. I believe yes. I believe this one does normally bill monthly. Sometimes they combine an invoice for a monthly.
The reason I ask, because we just paid another invoice.
In leadership.
JCP, whatever it is.
JCPC.
Yes. They had missed. I hate to, but I'm gonna question the fact. If they're not sending their invoices for their money, they really need it. You know, when that JCPC invoice was what, over a year old? I mean, really?
Yeah. And they're reporting that they spent the money, they just failed to, submit the invoice. The reimbursement basis. They spent the money of their own money with anticipation that we would be refunding them that amount. After this happened, I went back and made sure that, all the other programs are received what we allotted them, and I assure you that I will do that in the future. Generally, we make sure the invoices are paid, but it was they failed to bill us for those.
It bothers me that we're supporting financially these programs, but they're not billing. I feel like if they don't bill a certain period of time, that we would be responsible.
It does. One thing I guess that kind of muddies the water in this particular instance is some of this money is state funds. We receive to pass on to them. There's a county match, but then some of it's state funds for that particular program. I'm not really sure where the failure or where why the invoice is missed. I don't know why. It was Star and received the invoice.
I'm sure that the problem's not on our end. Oh, I'm sure of that.
I take responsibility. I will, at the end of this fiscal year, I intend to make sure that we're invoiced properly, reach out to the particular agencies and make sure that I'll send them a status report of all the allotments that we've sent out, tell them to make sure that this is the amount that they, going forward, I'm going to try to stay more on top of.
I don't know that it's our place to remind them to send us an invoice. That makes sense. It's not.
They do, all the programs do a third quarter accounting of their fiscal year parallels ours. And so that third quarter accounting should bring all this, play, because they are allotted, each program allotted X amount of dollars, whatever that allocation is off of from the state and the county match. And any funds that are not used are redistributed. So there should be an accounting, and you're right, Woody, this should be timely, and we'll definitely try to press that upon them.
I assure you going forward.
What do you think you have to do their work?
Well, I'm on the JCPC committee, so.
You got it. I don't think I told that. No, I'm not against paying it. I don't want that to be $30. I'm against the way that they bill us. Bills are not coming in on time.
And then, in different circumstances, I
They
would
need a
have-
Caleb and a Star, and that wouldn't happen. But they ain't having my Caleb and Star, so.
Motion second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your hand. All right,
Thank you. Item number 5, E911 is requesting funds to purchase PS Aware dispatching software. This will aid E911, fire, EMS, and law enforcement dispatching calls. The board adopt the following budget amendment to debit maintenance contracts, E911 Fund 22, General Fund, or line item 6600.1540, in the amount of $9,500, and to credit emergency telephone funds appropriated, E911 Fund 22, line item 3990, $9,500.
Adopt. Second.
all in,
And my questions have already been answered about that.
all right. Any more questions about this? If not, let's raise our hand if we agree. Okay.
Thank you. Item number 6, the Department of Solid Waste has had a bucket break on their loader. They have found a replacement but need additional funds to make the purchase. Request the board approve the following budget amendment: debit repairs maintenance, general fund line item 5800.1510, the amount of $4,500, and to credit available for appropriations, general fund line item 7,000.6000, an amount of $4,500.
I hear a motion to approve.
So moved.
I hear a second, all right?
Now, an explanation on this, at their Christmas dinner, it was brought, we were all sitting at the same table, it was brought to our attention that they had a bucket on their old loader, that they did not use the loader every day, but they used it real regular. It was broke all to pieces, and I said, look at you welding. Well, it'd been fixed several times, and it was really beyond being fixed, and I understand. I asked Eric if he would to see if he could find it. He did pretty quickly. And what he found was a new bucket. And it said they would sell it to him for $4,000. Itself is $4,000, and then you raise it to the price.
One day, down on equipment in that department will kill us. We've had a wrecked walking floor trailer for 3 months now, and it's gonna catch up with us and bite us.
All right.
Motion second.
I can't hear what you're
I
saying.
think you've got a motion and a second.
Okay.
End of the explanation.
Okay, that's the end of it. We've already voted on it, haven't we? No. All right, everybody in favor, raise your hand.
It is just a drop in the bucket.
Thank you, Dennis.
It's a bucket anyway.
Wish I had some silver.
Boing. I'll get it. We'll ask for that in the budget.
Item number 7, the Department of Solid Waste has looked into purchasing boots for the collection site attendants. A budget amendment would need to be done to make the funds available to purchase the boots. The board approved the following budget amendment to debit uniforms, general fund line item 5800.3600, an amount of $3,325, and to credit available for appropriations, general fund line item 7,000.6000, an amount of $3,325.
I hear a motion or discussion that anybody
Move to
got.
adopt.
All right,
Second.
all right. Everybody in favor of buying these boots that they need solid waste, raise your hand. Those opposed? All right,
Our folks that work for us, and we don't provide, out the selectivity of this particular.
All right, we heard what Dennis's comment was. It passed.
Thank you, board. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, that's it.
All right, thank y'all very much. I appreciate
We thank
Thank
you.
you more than very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.4C, our attorney's report. Michelle, do you have anything today?
I do not have anything, for the board, for my, news report, unless the board has any questions ongoing. I do have, an update on the personnel matter.
All right,
We're going to close session.
I don't know if you want to wait till after you, see the staff report for 3.5.
okay, did we have any staff reports? or
We did not.
All right. So 3.6, we'll move, go into closed session and excuse. All right. All in favor? And this is GS 143-318-11A6.
Y'all have anything? Still are planning.
And we invite Philip
That I would wanna hang around.
and Cindy.
Would I be able to call you first thing tomorrow about Mitchell? Perfect, yes, I'll call you first.
You.
tight schedule, so. I don't have a lot to worry about, it's, not have to drive that road there. The reason he had to come back was because
sorry.
6 o'clock.
What starts at 6 o'clock?
Ball game.
Avery,
Grandson.
have you got trimming? Just trimming, no turning back on?
There's no.
All right.
All the time was
Bring our meeting back to order, and there was no vote taken in closed session. All right? We have our minutes, 3.7, and that is November the 29th, 2001. Joint meeting with the Board of Education and January the 3rd, 2022, regular meeting. Does anybody have any discussion on the meeting?
Move we approve as recorded. Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right? We didn't have any agenda consent items, and our upcoming meetings, we have one this week for our workshop on Thursday at 9 o'clock
Here in the boardroom.
here in the boardroom.
And there are notebooks on the table that can be taken home. Maybe adding some more information for you, but, that is what we have as of
They're on the table.
3 o'clock
Here,
today.
go get your-
All right? Does anyone have anything else?
Drag on Caleb again. His 5-year capital plan is finally the way it needs to be, thanks to him. He is, going to be the best finance officer anybody in the world would
All
ever
right. Nothing else, I hear a motion that we adjourn.
Move we adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We'll leave.
15 minutes.
No discussion on that?
Well, I'll speak now, thank y'all for doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was much needed for the health department.
40 days.
I need